So, good to see you all. I want to just touch back in with what we talked about last week, so fundamental, and then build on that. Now we talked about what I described as finding the ground, which is three things: the breath, the body, and literally the ground. So we actually started tonight with the ground part of it, which is where the body kind of meets what supports it: the floor, the chair. Sometimes there's touch points in the back of the chair. If you're in a bench or on a cushion, there may be knees touching. But just kind of begin to feel your relationship with gravity, and really to come in relationship with the earth in a conscious way. It's part of the meditation. And then to feel the whole body, just in a general way. The body is so helpful for the practice we're doing, the direction we're taking, our experience. When you're feeling any of the senses, you are in the present moment. You are here and now. That's the only place that sight and hearing and touch and smell and taste and interoception and proprioception, they only occur here and now. So body is such a powerful tool to stepping back into here and now. And then the breath. The breath obviously is a part of the body, but it has a special kind of quality to it. It too is in relationship to the air, just as the whole body is in relationship to the earth. Breath is in relationship to the air around us. It's just this constant exchange. And so this becomes like our stabilizing place in the meditation, the place where we come to rest. And in that process, beginning to let the body be a place we trust and can release into. And it's important then to mention what it is that we're coming out of. As we release into the body, we're coming out of the mind as a place that we trust. And I think it's fair to say that for most of us, especially in the West, we believe that our minds are what keep us safe. And we kind of lose track that the actual experience of safety, the actual resting in safety, is something that's done embodied with the body in the present moment, in the here and now. So you can kind of check your belief around that. And one thing that I sometimes do, and I'd recommend this to anybody who wants to do this, is to just remind yourself as you're feeling the body to say, I'm safe now. It sounds ridiculous, maybe, but it's actually very helpful because so much of our being doesn't really accept that we're safe in any moment. So just to say, I'm safe now. Nothing needs to be done. There's nowhere to get to. Nobody to be. What a wonderful, restful thing. Nothing to do. No one to be. You can just come to rest and be that body. And I suggested an image that helps me is to imagine a cat or a dog. They're really adepts at this, at just sitting and being and letting their whole attention be in the present moment and just sitting and breathing and being relaxed. So that's really the ground and the place we release into. The challenge, which is often what we, I think, need to talk about in this class, challenges the mind. And so we need to mind the mind. We need to actually notice what's happening there. And so there's often something in us, maybe a voice, may not be actually put into words, but there's often something in us that says, I'm not safe. Doesn't feel you're safe. It's kind of scanning. And so there's a part of the mind that's always scanning for what's wrong, you know? And so oftentimes our environment is failing that test. There's something that's wrong. Even if it's like something that you haven't cleaned yet, something as trivial as that, the mind, oh, there's those smudge marks there I haven't taken off, so it creates a task. It creates some reason that you can't actually rest in that moment because there's something undone. So it like notices the undone frequently. It notices what it thinks needs to be improved or so forth. So it's constantly scanning. So I would encourage you to begin to notice that scanning side of your mind, the one that's scanning for what's wrong. I notice it sometimes, teaching this class, it'll come in and it'll wonder, if what I'm saying is clear or is it this or that? And I think it's helpful to acknowledge that this part of our mind is trying to help us. It's really well-intentioned. It's sometimes helpful. And so the first thing is to notice this kind of anxious scanning. When you notice it, you're kind of automatically stepping back from it. You have to step back from it to notice it. If you're so blended with it, if you're so like into it, you can't actually see it. So the scanner is one. I'll mention another, the doer is another one. There's one scanning for what's wrong. There's another one scanning for doing, for what needs to be done, which can be related to what's wrong or just can be related to your list. And oh, okay. For a second, I couldn't figure out what is that. It's my office phone. It'll stop in just a moment. It's over there, and I don't particularly want to deal with it. And it rings so rarely these days. Everybody, all my clients, all my students, they seem to contact me by the other phone. So it'll go away. So I was talking about, the other really important thing to notice in your mind is the doer, the one that wants to get things done, the one that wants to be productive. Both of these kinds of things that often operate in tandem, they don't allow you to rest. So to come to rest, you have to, in some sense, disarm them. And I use that word disarm deliberately because they are protective by nature. And so they have like their sword and their shield, if you like that. Somehow it feels better than giving them a gun, their sword and their shield. They're out to protect you against what you didn't think of that needs to get done, or something that's wrong that's going to turn into a major expense, or something that, there's this kind of sword and shield that's running all the time. It doesn't let you rest. So first of all, to notice it. And in noticing, to step back from it, to see it. Okay, there it is. That's what Mark was talking about. That's the scanning. Or that's the doer. The second is, and I think this is really helpful, is to just acknowledge them with gratitude. These aspects of the mind are trying to do their best to make it all work out in a very demanding and hectic world. And so I wouldn't want to diss them. However, they shouldn't be running the show. They shouldn't be driving the bus. And so frequently they are. Frequently they are. And so you'll notice this, for example, when you are going to meditate and suddenly you realize, oh, I have too much to do. And the next thing you know, you're off doing whatever you feel like you have too much to do. And so whatever kind of decision or executive function, as we call it today, that decided, hey, I could spare 20 minutes to meditate in the morning, suddenly gets overridden by the anxious doer. It's like, I got to get on that task list. I got to do that now. That's the most important. That's the priority. So it tends to like step in and take over as the number one priority, no matter what. And I think that's a cultural thing. I don't think that's true of every culture, that the doer gets so much power. But in our culture, the doer has tremendous power. I can't speak so much about other cultures around the what's wrong thing, but I think I can say around the doer, we are just consummate doers in this society. So notice it and step back from it, express gratitude, and then invite it to relax. Sort of like, okay, I see you. You want to make sure I get my stuff done. And then you do what I sometimes say is like putting a mental hand on the back of your anxious doer. You have to actually feel it as an energy inside you. And of course, I sometimes do this thing where you imagine it's like right next to you. Your anxious doer is actually a part of you that can unblend that way. If that works for you, you can do that. Sometimes it's just noticing it inside, wherever it is, wherever that thing is, got to get it done. Just kind of put a mental hand on its shoulder, in the middle of its back, over its heart, and just say, okay, we'll get to it. Right now, we're going to rest. Right now, we're going to take in this moment. We're going to savor our life. And maybe the doer will go, no, we're not. It may fight you a bit. But I find, if you really do it with your heart, you have to kind of do it from your heart. And that's what I mean by kind of put a mental hand on the part. You have to, from your heart, just kind of acknowledge, okay, got a lot to do. You're trying to do it, but honey, you can just set your burden down for a moment. Set your burden down. And I like talking to myself. It works. It's not necessary, but it works, sometimes. And I use my name, Mark, Mark, it's okay. There's nothing wrong here. Can even say it out loud. But this is really, really fundamental, I think, practice for us to be able to come into stillness and rest. We can't always be put in an environment that almost forces us to do that. And this is often the case with meditators, is that they go off on an intensive silent retreat where there's nothing to do and the schedule is all made and they've set aside this time. And then they can let a whole lot go. Although obviously their mind is still like, processing their lives and, there seems to be stuff to do even in that. But nonetheless, you put yourself in that sort of environment and gradually your nervous system starts to like come down. Someone's making dinner, you don't have to worry about that. There's very little to be concerned about in your immediate environment. And that's a wonderful thing. I highly recommend the intensive silent meditation retreat for anybody who would like that experience. It's a real boost to your practice. And in that kind of stillness and silence, it's like the teaching can go even deeper into your heart. That's what I notice. It's like the oral teaching on a retreat when you're really relaxed and open just can go right in and can touch you in certain ways that maybe out and about in the world, you're not quite so open. So that's really a valuable thing, but it's also really important to begin to address your life here and now in the world as you live it. So, some people go off to be monks, some people do a lot of retreats, but still, right here, right now, the most important thing to come to rest is to begin to identify these two mental giants, mental forces, and begin to tame them, begin to befriend them, might be a better word. Befriend your doer, befriend your what's wronger. Begin to, become acquainted with them and have the relationship with them that they can actually relax sometimes. And they actually do like that. Our doers do like to relax. Sometimes people develop hearts because it's so hard to get the doer to relax. Then you get these other sides of you that come up with strategies like knocking them out with alcohol, right? Or zoning out at the TV. Most people are able to unblend from their doer a bit if there's another human being around that they are deliberately choosing to be with. I think that's wonderful. It's a delightful way to unblend from your doer. You rush around until the company shows up, and then hopefully enough is done that you can enjoy them and sit and be with them. But doers often relax around people, which is why people are so helpful for us in terms of resting. And there can often be a sense around people that this is actually what we're here for in life, is to be with each other. We're actually here to be with each other. And everything else we do is in some way supposed to serve that. All of our kinds of accomplishments, all of our earning a living, they're supposed to serve the way we are with each other. It's not usually that way. We don't think of it all that way, that work is supposed to serve something else, the way we are with each other, the way we come to know the truth, and the way we are in our being, that those are actually more fundamental than getting stuff done. And of course, we just have too much stuff we have to take care of. We have to take care of all that stuff, and we have to pay for it. So it just kind of builds on itself. You just look at the simplicity of some cultures that need so little compared to ours. No wonder our poor doers are just all wound up, poor things. So befriend them. What I encourage you to do this week is to spend some time not doing anything. Experiment with that. Spend some time not doing anything. I don't know when that will work into your day. I love the morning for that. And I mean this beyond meditating. And it doesn't have to be a long time. Obviously, meditating, you're not doing anything, so to speak, but you are meditating. So often that counts for the doer. Okay, I got to meditate, I got to get my exercise in, got to eat breakfast, got to dress, got to shower, got to get out there, that's kind of the doer. So, but there's just a whole nother quality. If you can actually just be and rest, see where that fits. It could be right when you get home from work, instead of diving into making supper, if you don't have hungry mouths that are dying to have their dinner, sit down for a moment, even just 5 minutes. have a cup of tea. Notice your life. Notice your being. Notice the room. Often people spend a lot of attention decorating the room and making them look nice. So enjoy it. Enjoy what you put on the wall. Enjoy your plants. Maybe just like enjoy an animal, enjoy, who knows, maybe another human being. But just experiment with this a bit. I'm just encouraging it. There be some kind of deliberate rest that is not just meditating. Um, and another thing I'll just mention, may have to talk about it another day a little more, is just this whole trust factor. I like noticing that we trust our mind, we trust the doer, we trust the what's wronger. We give them a lot of power. That means that we trust them. And we don't necessarily trust our heart and our presence, which is where rest really takes us. There may be reasons for that. There may be reasons in one's history for that. But notice, that's the beginning, is to notice it. If that's where your trust is, if you really do trust the body, trust the present, trust the heart, assess that. It can be very helpful.